Blog Talk Radio.
The following program, NORML Show Live, is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate for the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate or encourage any illegal activity and advise all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws by visiting norml.org, NORML.org. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers of NORML Show Live are their own and do not necessarily reflect the philosophy and policies of NORML. Listener discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. Then it goes down to air. Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform. I smoke pot and I like it a lot. From the promise of legalization. And I think we can criminalize our marijuana laws. To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws presents NORML Show Live, Marijuana Nation. Now, here's your host, NORML's Outreach Coordinator, Radical Russ Belville.
All right, welcome back. NORML Show Live is on the air. Although I guess it's not really air, it's binary digits that we're on. We're in cyberspace. Glad that you could join us here for another hour of the best in marijuana law reform news, culture, entertainment, music, and interviews. I'm your host, Radical Russ Belville, and joining me up in the upper left corner of this great state of Oregon, my good friend and half-half sister, Cannabis Carrie.
Happy Friday, Russ, the first week of NORML Show Live.
Yeah, it's our first Friday. We're excited to be here, excited to open up the weekend for everyone. I hope everyone's having a great 2010 so far. We got plenty of stuff coming up on today's show, including our Celeb Stoner Entertainment News with Steve Bloom. He'll be joining us at the bottom of the hour. I've also got some interview recorded from Jovan Jackson, a man who was just recently tried in San Diego under the Operation Green RX. Our good friend Craig Barish from Southern California NORML recorded a couple minutes with him right out there on the courthouse steps. And also, I've got a pre-recorded interview with Dave Bienenstock, the senior editor of High Times Magazine, giving us a preview of the upcoming January 2010 issue and an exclusive scoop here on NORML Show Live you won't hear anywhere else. We're really excited about that, Carrie.
Yes, that'll be great.
Oh, yeah, and Terry, of course, has the news coming up here after our first break at 4:20, where we're right before 4:20, and then at 4:20 we'll have your daily Toker Tunes, some Rockin' Friday music today from The Bastard. Also got to give a shout-out to my good friend Scott Gordon from Herb Age Designs, and congratulations on his Alabama Crimson Tide becoming the third team in history to reach a 14-0 season. Of course, yeah, very nice, very nice. Of course, my Boise State Broncos were the second team to reach that 14-0, and as far as I'm concerned, we're co-national champions. Alabama national champions, 14-0. Boise State, 14-0 national champions, separate but equal division. Other news here, if you're looking for more news and interview information, you can always check out our blog at stash.norml.org. The Stash blog has all the information you're looking for from the stories that we cover here today on the show, as well as other stuff we can't get to, including videos. And I also want to let you know about Carrie's new website that she's been collecting some news information of interest to the cannabis community, CannabisFantastic.com. Carrie, tell them a little bit about that.
It's just a news website. You know, I only get to do 3 stories a day, but of course, on big news days, there could be 15 or 16 stories floating out there that I think that people would be interested in. So you can head over to CannabisFantastic.com and check out the stuff we can't get to here on the live stash.
All right. Check it out, CannabisFantastic.com. We're right back after this break with your NORML news with Cannabis Carrie. Stick around. Visit our sponsors. This is NORML Show Live.
You're listening to NORML Show Live, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Hello, I'm Paul Stanford from the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation, or THCF. Medical marijuana is legal in 13 states today, and THCF has clinics in 8 of those states. Our doctors help qualified patients obtain an authorization for medical marijuana in their state. Patients are eligible for medical marijuana with a history of either severe chronic pain and or nausea, cancer, AIDS or HIV, hepatitis, glaucoma, seizure disorders like epilepsy, chronic muscle spasms such as multiple sclerosis or asthma, neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's, and gastrointestinal disorders like IBS or Crohn's disease. If you or someone you know has one of these conditions, our doctors will help you obtain a permit for medical marijuana. THCF Medical Clinic has offices in Washington State, Oregon, California, Colorado, Hawaii, Nevada, Montana, and now Michigan. Call 1-800-723-0188 or go to the web at hemp.org or 1-800-723-0188.
Hi, it's a kite, everybody.
This drug in front of me is what they call marijuana.
If we had a dime for every dime bag bought in America, marijuana would be legal by now. Donate to NORML at NORML.org and support NORML Show Live.
I'm going to light.
Roll a big fatty. Medical marijuana, industrial hemp, consumer cannabis. It's time for this week's NORML News with Cannabis Carrie.
The day is finally here. Mark Emery is waiting as the clock counts down on an extradition order that will send him to a U.S. prison for 5 long years. He may be extradited as early as this afternoon. Mark Emery, who founded the BC Marijuana Party and publisher of Cannabis Culture magazine, has spent the last few days enjoying every moment he can with his wife. Emery's troubles with the United States government stemmed from his company, Mark Emery Direct Seeds, which ran from 1994 to 2005. Although he was breaking Canadian law, the law was seldom enforced, and he even filed and paid taxes to the Canadian government. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency raided his business, and the Canadian government was asked to extradite him to stand trial in the U.S. The charges he was facing was conspiracy to produce and traffic marijuana, a charge that could have landed him a life sentence in a U.S. prison or, at best, a 30-year mandatory minimum. He eventually signed a plea bargain in September of 2009 to avoid a risky trial and reduce his sentence to the 5 years. Mark has said he will not turn fugitive, as many of his outraged countrymen are urging him to do. According to the Canadian paper The National Post, Mr. Emery said he expects to be held at SeaTac Federal Detention Center outside of Seattle for several weeks following his transfer to the U.S., while officials decide where he will serve out his sentence. Emery stated that his extradition highlights a growing threat to Canadian sovereignty and warned that Canada is looking more like an arm of the American empire rather than an independent, autonomous state. The only thing that could save Mark now would be for Canada's Justice Minister to refuse to sign the extradition of Mark Emery. Jody, Mark's wife, and also a high-level marijuana activist herself, might not be able to make it through the border to visit her husband while he is incarcerated. Russ?
Wow. Funny you mentioned the American empire, because I was just thinking, haven't anyone in the American justice system, haven't they seen Star Wars? Don't they know that when you kill Obi-Wan Kenobi, he just comes back stronger in the Force? Well, it's the same thing we got going on here with Mark Emery. Imprisoning Mark Emery for 5 years is not going to do anything to end anybody buying seeds over the Internet. It's not going to do anything to put a dent in marijuana growing, cultivation or use, trafficking, anything like that. It's going to have no effective solution whatsoever to what the government's trying to do here, at least what they say they're trying to do. We all know what it really is about. It's about suppression of political free speech here. It's that Mark Emery has a lot of money, and he donates a lot of money to people that are trying to change both Canadian and American marijuana laws. That's what this is really about. But by putting him in prison for 5 years, all you're doing is highlighting his cause. All you're doing is making a martyr out of him, not a literal martyr, obviously, but a martyr out of him for the cause. and he will just emerge from this stronger, both politically and publicly. You only have to look at the case of Tommy Chong being sent to for 9 months for selling glass over the internet. The same thing happened. Tommy Chong, before he went to prison, he was always happy to make a buck off of being a marijuana comedian and very fond of smoking weed and hanging out and stuff, but he wasn't really much of an activist. And I've seen him now 5, 6 different times and spoken with him 2 or 3 times, and every time he tells me that going to jail, that's what really turned him into an activist. That's where he met average folks like you and me that end up in jail and in prison for these ridiculously long mandatory minimum sentences, and he realized these guys aren't criminals. These are people just like me. They're just not famous. And that's what turned Tommy Chong into an activist. And he's now, Cheech and Chong are now headlining a gala for MPP next week for their 15th anniversary, along with New Mexico Governor Gary Johnson and Tennessee Representative Steve Cohen. So the political power, I mean, before Cheech and Chong was just a joke, right? That's what Barry McCaffrey used to use to say, Cheech and Chong medicine about medical marijuana. Now, Cheech and Chong are actually political activists. So once again, the United States government proves that this reefer madness is spreading all across this continent of ours, and it needs to end.
The Colorado AP News reports that a lawmaker from Colorado is working on a bill that would require medical marijuana dispensaries, growers, and caregivers to be licensed. Senator Chris Romer has submitted a request to the Department of Regulatory Affairs earlier today asking for their opinion. If the agency agrees with Romer, caregiver licenses would be included in the medical marijuana regulation bill he is planning to introduce during the new legislative session, which begins on Wednesday. Romer says that caregivers should be trained to make sure marijuana contains no mold or pesticides and is mixed with no other drugs. Romer says that caregiving should be a sophisticated medical skill. The marijuana advocacy group Sensible Colorado opposes the idea. Brian Vicente, spokesman for the group, says that while they are open to regulating businesses that have developed to serve the growing number of medical marijuana patients, the 2000 law that was passed by voters didn't say that people providing marijuana had to meet any requirements, adding, marijuana is the safest drug known to man. It's never caused an overdose. It's never caused a death. Colorado receives an estimated 400 applications a day to get medical marijuana cards, and the state's health department says it takes about 3 months to process the applications.
Yeah, this Colorado thing, we're keeping an eye on this one. These new regulations they're trying to put forth to restrict the Colorado Amendment 20 and the amazing growth of dispensaries there in Colorado. The idea, though, that we want to license caregivers, private individuals in their home caring for their loved ones, I think that goes a little too far into state intrusion, and I agree with Brian Vicente on that about, yes, we can license the businesses. If you're going to be doing business as a dispensary, certainly that's someplace where the government needs to get involved. But if we're just talking about a husband growing a pot plant in the closet for his wife, and then requiring him to have to go through some sort of training and certification program, again, I think it goes too far, especially when we know how safe and therapeutic that cannabis truly is. There are a few other things they're trying to get through in these new regulations, a couple things. One, they want to try to limit patients to only being able to get 2 ounces per week. I don't think that will fly. Colorado's is a constitutional amendment, so it's going to be a whole lot harder for them to try to put some sort of limit like that on there, and I really don't think that's constitutional based on how the amendment was written. They also want to limit these caregiving dispensaries to 2,500 patients each. They think 2,500 is enough. Well, yeah, that seems to be a fairly large number, but I hate to put an arbitrary number on the limit of people that could be served by a dispensary, because really what that would do is it would just encourage the proliferation of more dispensaries in order to make up enough of them to cover all of the patients. I would rather have one good dispensary serving 10,000 patients than 4 bad ones serving 2,500. They also want to have, they also are looking at putting a limit on the number of these dispensaries that could actually exist within a city limits. That gets more onto the line of zoning, and I think there's some appropriate spots there for government to get involved. But again, we want to make sure that it's not so restrictive that it goes against what the people of Colorado voted into their Constitution.
And in our last study today, In our last story today, a new study is out from the U.S. Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration that indicates that aging baby boom generation are still using marijuana. The results showed a dramatic increase in the levels of illicit drug use among adults aged 50 and older. According to the report, the increase may require the doubling of substance abuse treatment services needed by 2020. This latest report, Illicit Drug Use Among Older Adults, shows that an estimated 4.3 million adults aged 50 or older, that's almost 5%, used an illicit drug in the past year. 8.5% of men aged 50 to 54 had used marijuana in the past year, and only 3.9% of women in the same age group had used marijuana. The report also shows that marijuana use was more common than non-medical use of prescription drugs among males 50 and older, but among females, the rate of marijuana use and non-medical use of prescription drugs were similar. Although marijuana use was more common than non-medical use of prescription drugs for adults aged 50 to 59, that number flips to more prescription drug use than marijuana among those aged 65 or older. Although the results of the study was just released, the actual data came from information collected from older Americans from 2006 through 2008.
Yeah, we're finding more and more people in their senior years are turning to medical cannabis or just relaxing with recreational cannabis. Well, you get to be a certain age, you can't handle hangovers and the severe side effects that you get from both alcohol and some of these prescription drugs. And especially when we start talking about the cost of these prescription drugs for people to take. And when a doctor hands you 4 pills to take care of your condition and another 12 pills to take care of the side effects from the pills you took for your condition, it's no wonder that people are beginning to turn to medical marijuana, especially in their older years. We've seen this as an uptick in the demographics when we look at the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. By the way, check out that website. It's SAMHSA. They've got a great tool up there where you can get information from the National Surveys on Drug Use and Health and the Monitoring of Future Studies and be able to cross-reference it and create bar graphs and tables so that any time one of those prohibitionists comes at you with some sort of lie, you can go right to the government's own numbers and fact-check them on it. I've got links to it up at stash.normal.org, or if you have trouble finding it, just send me an email. My email address here is stash@normal.org, and I'll be glad to turn that research over to you. I know there's so many people out there that turn to NORML to find the information to be able to make these fights and to make these points in the debates. I'll be glad to help you out with that. But looking at the demographics from about the year 2000, we found that about 16% of seniors, people over the age of 50, were using cannabis at least once per year. Now we have found that number, or have used cannabis in their lifetime, excuse me. Now we're finding that number has gone up to about 30% over just a 10-year span. So this represents that baby boomer demographic that, number one, had experience in their youth, but then number two, they gave it up when they became mothers and fathers. But now all their kids are out of the house, they got the empty nest, they feel a little more free to pursue the cannabis that they loved so much in their youth. And again, combined with all of the health issues that happen to people as they get older, it's really no surprise that we see so many more people using medical marijuana. Now, as we come back, we are going to be taking a look at our daily Toker tunes. We've got some great music, some Friday, Rockin' Friday music for you. And after that, we've got interviews all lined up with Steve Bloom, Jovan Jackson, and Dave Bienenstock from High Times Magazine. So this is Normal Show Live. Thanks for joining us. We'll be right back after these short messages. Make sure to patronize our sponsors so we can continue to bring all this great information to you.
It's 20 after the hour, and we have to take a short break, if you know what I mean. Please support these sponsors who support Normal Show Live.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? Reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? Reefer man. If he said he smelled vagina, he would tell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
Law420.com. Hello, I'm Russ Belville, Outreach Coordinator for NORML. In my job, I read literally hundreds of headlines each month involving nonviolent, productive citizens whose lives are ripped apart by a marijuana or drug arrest. Many citizens could avoid arrest by refusing police searches and remaining silent, but police are well trained to confuse and intimidate. That's why you have a right to speak to an attorney before answering any police questions. I hope you never need to exercise that right, but if you do, make your first call to the law offices of John C. Lucy IV. John Lucy is an accomplished criminal defense attorney with expertise in Oregon's medical marijuana law. John Lucy understands and respects cannabis and drug consumers of all backgrounds. Call John C. Lucy IV at 503-227-6000 or visit in downtown Portland. Address available at law420.com. That's John C. Lucy IV at 503-227-6000 or visit law420.com today.
Almost busted in Laredo, but for reasons that I'd rather not disclose.
I smoke pot, and I like it a lot. Hi, this is Willie Nelson. I learned a long time ago that marijuana is a lot safer to use than alcohol. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the responsible use of marijuana by adults. It's time we stopped arresting and started respecting responsible marijuana smokers in America. And to learn what you can do to help, please contact NORML at www.norml.org or call toll-free at 888-67-NORML.
The show was long and we were just sitting there, and we'd come to play and not just for the ride.
Welcome back, NORML Show Live. It's 21 after the hour. It's time for your Daily Toker Tune, the best in 420-friendly music from all genres that uplifts, entertains, and informs the public. Our pod-safe music is donated by freedom-loving musicians who support our goal of ending adult marijuana prohibition. Today we take you into the weekend with Rockin' Friday, our segment featuring the best rock, metal, punk, and jam band music, brought to you by The Bastards, blogging at jerseyandOhio.wordpress.com. If you'd like to submit your song to be played on NORML Show Live, send it to us at stash@norml.org. Now, here's some great independent marijuana music for today's Daily Toker Tunes. All right, today's tune is a song by a group called Vegan Coke. I love that name, Vegan Coke. The tune is called Weed versus the Narc. It's actually 4 minutes and 20 seconds long. I love it when they do that. And Vegan Coke is a three-piece instrumental rock band with a wide range of tone, style, and tasteful meter, blending with an atmospheric chaos looming above you that reaches out to the loud, heavy, psychedelic soundscape of music. Their song, Weed vs. the Narc, was recorded for a sampler cassette, remember cassettes, which was released by Zap Cassettes for the Reactionary Records Fest, which took place at the 529 Bar in East Atlanta this Thanksgiving weekend. They're currently working on a full-length album tentatively entitled Narnia Business. The idea of the album is basically getting lost in your own world of Narnia while listening to the album. For more information on Vegan Coke, please visit their MySpace page at myspace.com/Vegan Coke. And now for Rockin' Friday and your Daily Toker Tune, it's Vegan Coke with Weed versus the Narc. Kicking out the jams, Weed versus the Narc. Interesting tune there. A little instrumental music coming up for you. Love it here at Normal Show Live. Glad to have it. Hey, joining us on the telephone, calling us all the way from the beautiful islands in the United States Virgin Islands, our friend Linda Adler is on the line. I'm trying to get her on here. Linda, can you hear me yet? Still got to make that click happen. Here we go. There we go. Linda, can you hear me?
I sure can.
Oh, Linda, what's happening down there in the Virgin Islands?
You know, Russ, there is so much happening down here. Things are moving so fast. We, just in case anybody doesn't know, we are working to legalize fully, not just for medical, but legalize fully for everybody to use, for personal consumption, for consumers to purchase in a market setting, to use and grow industrial hemp as well. And besides the legislation that we've written and are reviewing right now, we have started the petition process for the Citizens Initiative petition. We're in the pre-petition stage right now. We have to get only, this sounds so little, only 3,000 signatures in the pre-petition and only 30,000 overall. We only have 120,000 people in the territory. It's like a mid-sized town, you know.
Yeah, that's pretty promising.
But the response has been so overwhelming. Today, I went out. I had some errands to run. Actually, I had to go to the doctor because I had recently developed a seizure condition that I had had as a child. And for 35 years, I was seizure-free. All of a sudden, I started having seizures again, so they put me on medication. Going back to the conversation you had before the musical break.
Right.
They put me on some medication for that. I developed side effects. I had to go to a different doctor today. Spend the medicine that they put me on was $150. I had to go today and spend $100 to see a doctor to prescribe me something that cost $50 to counteract the side effects. How crazy is that? Do you know how much weed I could get for $300?
Exactly. Well, Linda, thanks for that. We appreciate that. I've got to run. We've got more show to get to. We'll give more updates on the United States Virgin Islands. Check them out at our Stash blog, stash.normal.org. Go to the search up in the top right corner and just type in USVI Normal, and you can find all of our stories about Linda and the great work she's doing down there in the United States Virgin Islands. We got to take a break. We'll be right back with live interviews. I'm not sure which one first, but we'll get to them right after this.
Hi, I'm Keith Straub, the founder of NORML. In all the years since 1970 that I've been fighting marijuana prohibition, I've learned that drug warriors love to confuse the public with statistics. Lately, they've claimed that there are more teens enrolled in drug treatment for marijuana than ever before. It's a statement that, while true, is intentionally misleading. What they don't tell you is that marijuana arrests have skyrocketed to over 800,000 arrests per year. They also don't tell you that we've gone from a few dozen drug courts in the 1990s to over 2,500 drug courts today. The kicker is that those drug courts sentence teens routinely to drug treatment for marijuana whether they need drug treatment or not. So they arrest more people for pot, require them to enter drug treatment, then claim the higher treatment numbers justify more pot arrests. It's an absurd proposition, but no more absurd than banning a plant. Learn the facts about pot. Visit NORML.org today.
Starfish Design, makers of the original Gandalf.
I'm Radical Russ, and when I want to relax, I always have my 17-inch long original Gandalf from Starfish Designs nearby. The hand-blown borosilicate glass is strong and easy to clean, and the design is sleek and sophisticated. Starfish Designs are available from Bend, Oregon at a glass retailer near you. For locations, call 541-788-GLASS. That's 541-788-4527.
The fact is today, people don't go to jail for possession of marijuana. I know you like to pretend it does, and there's a lot of misinformation about that, but finding somebody in jail or prison for a first-time nonviolent offense of possession of marijuana is like finding a unicorn. You find one, you will make a big story because it doesn't exist. finding somebody in jail or prison for a first-time nonviolent offender for possession of marijuana is like finding a unicorn, finding a unicorn, finding a unicorn.
NORML Show Live, the National Wildlife Refuge for Marijuana Unicorns.
Welcome back. It's 32 after the hour here at NORML Show Live. That was the former drug czar, John Walters, saying that people in prison for marijuana are as rare as unicorns. You know, I got about 50,000 people in this country that are in jail for nothing more than marijuana possession that would probably stand to disagree with them. All right, I want to turn now to an interview I got recorded from Craig Barish. He's the executive director of Southern California NORML down in San Diego. You can check them out at socalnormal.org. This is Craig with Jovan Jackson, who had recently stood trial in San Diego for his involvement with dispensaries and medical marijuana in San Diego.
Hi, this is Craig Barish, director with NORML, and I'm standing with Jovan Jackson after his sentencing on the medical marijuana court case. Jovan, how do you feel?
I feel happy. I feel glad to finally be done with this entire case. I feel like it was a very good day, very good decision by the judge.
I noticed that I thought the judge was real fair while I was in there, and I noticed that she gave you the ability to get legal prescription drugs, but also she pointed out flat out that you could have a recommendation for medical marijuana if needed, and that would not get you in any type of trouble with them as long as it was a valid recommendation.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome that in the terms of her probation for me, she said that I can possess marijuana with my valid recommendation from my doctor, and she clarified on the record that a prescription or recommendation was all I needed.
Exactly, and I think she even jumped on the prosecutor a little bit about him bringing that up. What was that she said again?
I don't know verbatim exactly what she said. We'd have to get the court transcripts or whatnot, but I do know that the tone was, hey, look, if you have any issues with the legislation and what they've enacted, take it up with them.
Exactly, and I think some of the judges might be starting to turn to start realizing that this is a medicine and it's for the patients, and that's a good sign of it right there. That's the first step.
Yeah, I think so, but you got to realize that each judge has their own independent mind, and just pray if you are a medical marijuana patient going through the legal system that you run into Judge Cynthia Bouchant.
I definitely agree with that. I'd have to say she was one of the fairest judges I've seen.
Yes.
I was real pleased that she made some real proper, fair decisions. Thanks, Jovan, and I'm sure you're going to go out and have a good time today.
Woo!
Since 1970, NORML has been fighting for the rights of all adults who use cannabis responsibly. Since 1974, High Times magazine has been the chronicle of the cannabis community. Every second Friday of the month, we bring that working relationship to the NORML Daily Audio Stash with our special guest, Senior Editor Dave Bienenstock, author of Official High Times Pot Smoker's Handbook, for our exclusive monthly preview of this month's issue of High Times. All right, we're back, and it's the second Friday of the year, actually. It's the second Friday of January, and on the second Fridays, we always do our High Times magazine preview with Senior Editor Dave Bienenstock. Dave, welcome back to the show.
Oh, any second Friday of the year, I'm happy to talk with you and everybody from NORML, Russ.
That's kind of a confusing way to put it, isn't it? Second Friday. Oh, well.
Confusion is my trade,
yeah.
So I'm right with you.
It's the new year, and usually I get the magazine in my mailbox just before we record these interviews, and I can go through it with you. Since it's only the 8th, I think the mail's a little bit behind, so I haven't gotten my issue yet, so I'm kind of shooting from the hip here. What are we looking at for the January 2010 issue?
Well, looking at the cover, I'm looking at just an amazing piece of glassware, shall we say, smokable art. I might call it a bong, but that's just me.
In some states.
This is our glass special, which I know a lot of people really look forward to. you can get it high out of a rolling paper or an apple or whatever. So what we're really talking about is artwork here that you can also smoke your cannabis with. And we just have, we really pride ourselves in seeking out just the most big pieces of glass we can find every year, and this year is definitely no exception. I'm always amazed. I've had the good fortune to actually go to some glass blowing studios and see what's involved in making these pieces, and it's really great to see such beautiful examples. Inside, what's that, Rob?
I was just going to say, where do you get the different samples from, just geographically, all over the U.S. or in specific locations?
Well, you know what? This year we actually had Jerome Baker, who is, one of the obvious top glass blowers, and somebody who's been a part of that scene and that industry for quite a while. He wrote the feature story for us, and I know our Dan Sky, our photographer, also was tracking down pieces. So I'd say they're from all over the country. They represent a lot of different styles, and they show the diversity of, there's a big difference between getting a piece of beautiful functional art that somebody worked on and buying a cheap piece of glass for $10. And now, that said, smoke them if you got them. But these people are really artists and artisans, and I know, speaking to so many glass blowers, they're so grateful to the cannabis community for providing an outlet for their work that they can sustain themselves and continue to blow this beautiful art glass. There's been a real revival of the art glass movement in this country, and cannabis enthusiasts like the people at NORML are a huge part of how and why that's happening.
Yeah, I've seen it really explode out here in the Pacific Northwest. We have a ton of great glass blowers out here. Of course, California's got a thriving glass industry. I know when I head back to the East Coast, it seems like everybody I know out there smokes joints. So is glass as popular out there in the East Coast?
Well, as a resident of the Baked Apple here in New York, I have to say I think it is a big coastal difference. I don't know if that you definitely see glass around no matter where you go, especially among the people who are really into their smoking. But no, I would say it's definitely more prominent on the West Coast. I don't know exactly what to attribute that to, but it's definitely true. Maybe in a way it's that is where the culture is, and so I think that's where most of the people who are producing these beautiful pipes and bongs and everything are out there. So of course that's where they're going to have the biggest scene built up.
Yeah, I think maybe also the need of the police out there to prosecute the paraphernalia laws more strictly, and maybe more strict laws out in the East. Maybe that has something to do with it. But, whatever. There's glass everywhere, and you can check out a whole bunch of it in the new High Times magazine. Other things that we're always known for reading about in High Times are music and music tours and the great concerts that are coming up. Do we have any interviews coming up or reviews of great albums?
We actually, our feature interview this month, which is interesting. It's this woman, Chris O'Dell. She has a new book out that's sort of her memoir of being involved in the music scene with the Beatles and with the Rolling Stones and Bob Dylan, Crosby, Stills and Nash. A lot of these just iconic musicians that our culture certainly looks up to, and so obviously, she has this new memoir out, and we asked her a lot about, what it was like sharing cannabis with these musical icons. So I think that's something that, people of that generation are clearly interested in, but in talking with readers and everything, we know that those bands and that time period is a huge touchstone even for our younger readers. And she definitely has some real interesting insight into who was smoking what with whom back in those days. And then more towards the front of the book, We have it's called Thrash and Burn about a devil driver. I got to say, I'm not. What I love about one of the things I love about High Times and about cannabis is within every sub scene, people love pop, like heavy metal guys and rap guys and reggae guys and whatever kind of music you're in. Pot is a big part of music, so it's like I'm not really a heavy metal guy, but Devil Driver, Bobby Black, a guy I work with, he loves this band, and we got the guy with his bong and a nice dash talking about how that weed and the heavy metal lifestyle and how that goes together for him. And then we have Used, which is actually a really big up and coming band. And I'm looking right now at the picture of them in a hotel room, sharing a few joints and looking through some High Times. And this is a band that's like I said, up and coming, but they're really they're starting to get very popular, and we're very excited to talk with High Times. So that's definitely one for the music people.
Yeah, definitely. The cannabis brings all the good music together. I know bluegrass guys that are really into weed, so there's it's all over the place. High Times also, you always have some sort of in-depth expose or article going on, something that takes a deeper look at the cannabis culture or the laws. What's happening this month?
Well, we got a few things. As far as the laws go, one of the things we have is a profile of Micah Daigle, who is the new head of Students for Sensible Drug Policy. An organization that I know works with NORML chapters a lot on different campuses and initiatives. As far as going in-depth, we have a really exciting story. We were able to send our cultivation editor, Nico, to Morocco. He was taken, he was offered a chance to travel, and for anybody who doesn't know, Morocco is the leading producer of hashish in the world, according to the United Nations. And then the mountainous regions there are valleys that are just covered with cannabis plants, and they've been growing for many hundreds of years there to produce hashish. And he had an opportunity to go and to be guided with some people there who are, shall we say, involved in the hashish trade. And it's just, it's something when, it's obviously for us, and it's quite an expense to send somebody to Morocco. But we really feel like that's our responsibility. We are the magazine that can do that, and that has the readership that really wants to know what's going on in these places. And so it's just amazing photos and a really great inside story of how the other part of the world, we were sitting we were at the Cannabis Cup in Amsterdam in November, and lots of what's on the menu is Moroccan. Wonderful hashish, an amazing culture, and to see, to follow that trail back all the way to Morocco, to where the plants grow, and understand that connection between yourself smoking in a coffee shop and the people of Morocco who are using these traditional hash methods handed down over the generations. It's fascinating, certainly to me. And on the flip side of that, we have a harvest tour from this year in Mendocino County, which I don't think I have to tell too many High Times readers, part of Northern California's legendary Emerald Triangle, and to tour Northern California at harvest time is a unique and beautiful experience, and just trying to convey that to our readers. Every time we get so many letters from people when we do these location stories. God, I've always wanted to go there, and so we just try to bring them along with us as best we can.
Oh yeah, it's always great reading. I love the international stories, and the pictures, of course, are splendid. Folks, you ought to get yourself a subscription to High Times magazine. It's not just for looking at great pictures of bud. There's fantastic stories in there, Reminds me of the old line in Playboy, you can read it for the articles. So, get yourself a subscription, because it's more than just getting a magazine for your own entertainment. It's also a bit of a political act, because High Times is very good about supporting organizations like NORML that are trying to end this stupid marijuana prohibition. So you get a great magazine, and your money helps to end adult marijuana prohibition. It's a win-win situation. And if you're a little unsure about, killing all the trees to get the paper, you can always get the digital edition, which is out there at hightimes.com. All sorts of great stuff out there as well. Dave Bienenstock is the senior editor of High Times Magazine. Before I let you go, Dave, anything else you'd like to tell our listeners about the upcoming magazine, or just what's happening in your life?
Well, what's happening in my life and what's upcoming in the magazine is a little related. I'm actually, in about a month, I'm going to be taking the position of West Coast editor.
Oh, wow.
I'm still looking for the exact location where I'm going to be setting up shop. And we are going to be throwing a medical cannabis cup on the West Coast this summer. I don't want to give you I'm going to give you that. I think this is the first news of it, but I'm not going to give you all the info because we are still working out the details, but we're getting extremely excited about that. I'm obviously very excited about my relocation, and I'll just say, more on that to come. But gentlemen, start your gardens.
All right.
We're having a West Coast Cup.
A West Coast Cannabis Cup, courtesy of High Times, coming this summer. You heard it here first on NORML Show Live. Dave Bienenstock making his way out here to the West Coast. Might I suggest beautiful Portland, Oregon?
Definitely on my radar.
All right. Thanks for joining us again here, calling us from New York City. Really appreciate it, Dave.
All right, take care, Russ.
You're listening to NORML Show Live, the voice of the marijuana nation.
No matter what you call it, it's a huge part of popular culture.
Where'd you learn that, Cheech? Good school.
You don't need weed school. You just need a copy of the new book, Pot Culture, the A to Z Guide to Stoner Language and Life.
Hey, this is great, man.
Even if you never smoked marijuana.
I never used marijuana. Sorry.
Don't think you smoked marijuana.
I experimented with marijuana clandestine. I didn't inhale.
Or you used to smoke marijuana.
I inhaled frequently. That was the point.
Pot Culture by former High Times editor Steve Bloom and Shirley Halperin will answer every question you've ever had about marijuana culture.
Has that marijuana made it back up here yet?
Check out Pot Culture, the A to Z Guide to Stoner Language and Life at Amazon.com or visit potculturebook.com today.
Too bad, I just stopped smoking yesterday.
Which of you are ready to admit to having used marijuana in the past? And they want us to go around and ask each of you. Senator Kerry, yes or no? Yes. Yes. Okay. Senator Edwards? Yes. Senator Lieberman?
Well, I have a reputation for giving unpopular answers at Democratic debates. I never use marijuana. Sorry.
I think you'd probably be a lot cooler if you had, Senator.
Yeah, smoke a little pot. If anyone could use it, Joe Lieberman could. Welcome back. It's 51 after the hour here at NORML Show Live. I'm so excited for that news from Dave Bienenstock. First of all, moving out here to the West Coast. Can't blame him. And second of all, a Cannabis Cup, an official High Times medical Cannabis Cup out here on the West Coast coming for the summer. We'll give you more details as they become available. You heard it first here on NORML Show Live. Steve Bloom, unfortunately, has been unable to join us. I think he was detained, not detained in a correctional way, but I think he had another interview he was getting to, and he's told me it might be kind of tough for him to get back and get on the line with us. So unfortunately, we missed him today. We'll get him back on next week for the Celeb Stoner Entertainment Report. Catch up on all your celebrity stoner entertainment news at celebstoner.com. And I'm going to bring Carrie back into the room here with us as well to discuss something else that we've been doing on this show, and that is NORML Show Live after the show. It's like the Oprah show, right, Carrie?
Just exactly like the Oprah show. That's right. You're Oprah, I'm Gail.
Yeah. Yeah, folks, if you don't know, if you're listening to NORML Show Live through our players, it streams for an hour, right? So you got 60 minutes and it's going to go and just play, right? And then at the end of that, it's done, and you don't hear anything else. But after the 60-minute mark, we can actually keep talking. We could actually keep talking for another 2 hours, and it all gets recorded, and it gets uploaded as the podcast. So for the past couple of days, Carrie and I have just been chatting for about 5 minutes after the show, and I got to thinking that, maybe this would be a good way for us to get people that are afraid to talk on the live air, and wouldn't mind being recorded or podcasted, but afraid of going on live. Well, you can call in and listen to Normal Show Live after the show. All you got to do is just call 347-994-1810, and you can listen to us ramble after the show, and we can have a little conversation. It's a little less structured. We don't have the commercial breaks that we have to play and all the bumpers and stuff, so it's just a conversation, you and me and Cannabis Carrie. What do you think of that, Carrie?
I think it's a lot of fun because it's sort of a relaxed feeling after the show. We're all, we got through it. So the conversation flows pretty freely.
You know what? I'm getting a call on my cell phone from Steve, actually. I think he doesn't have the number to call in. So let me text him and see if we can get his call in here.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, we can just text him out there and maybe get him on the line here. Also want to let you know the phone is open right now at 347-994-1810 if you're interested in talking. In the meantime, I'd like to go to another one of our stories up here at the Stash blog. Check it out. I've been redesigning the blog out there at stash.normal.org. It's got a new kind of a newspaper format, and if you like the old format where you can just scroll it up and down like a old school blog, you can get that too. Just click on the word blog up in the header, and that will get you right there. I wanted to talk about this new study that is out. This is a new study that was just out in the Journal of Molecular Cancer Therapeutics, and I posted it. And it's taken aim at the ability of cannabinoids to inhibit the spread of a certain type of brain cancer called glioblastoma. Now, if you've been paying attention, glioblastoma was the type of cancer suffered by Senator Ted Kennedy of Massachusetts. So this has been in the news lately, this type of cancer. The title of the study says, Cannabidiol enhances the inhibitory effects of delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol on human glioblastoma cell proliferation and survival. Try saying that 3 times stoned. But cannabidiol, for those of you that don't know, is one of the constituents of the cannabis plant. THC is the one everyone knows. That's the one that gets you high. And oftentimes our opponents, prohibitionists, will say about medical marijuana, you don't need it, you can just get Marinol, which is a synthetic pill, a synthetic version of THC. The problem with Marinol is it doesn't include cannabidiol. It doesn't include cannabigerol, cannabichromine, flavonoids, terpenes, all these other constituent chemicals. There's 63, 64 different cannabinoids within the cannabis plant. And many of these have varying different sort of medical effects. The cannabidiol, what they're finding now in this research here is that, and I'll just quote from the research, we observed that plant-derived cannabinoids inhibit the proliferation of human glioblastoma, that's brain cancer, cell lines. Compared with delta-9 THC, cannabidiol was significantly more potent at inhibiting cancer cell growth. This finding is in agreement with studies using models of aggressive breast cancers. Delta-9 THC is currently being used in a clinical trial for treatment of recurrent glioblastoma. Now, this is exciting news. This is thrilling news that we're finding out that the constituents of the cannabis plant may indeed be effective at not only halting the spread of cancers, certain type of cancers, but also in probably preventing them from occurring in the first place. So won't this be great, 30 years from now, after we've had a lot of time to work on this and research this, how many lives we could save with this type of cannabis research? Well, hold on to your hats, folks. Here's the bad news. We've known about this kind of stuff since 1974. That's right. The United States government funded trials at the University of Virginia. The National Institutes of Health funded these trials in 1974 that showed cannabis had promise as an anti-tumoral agent, anti-cancer type of therapy. But this research was buried by our government, which even tried to get the researchers to destroy their reports and evidence that they had accumulated so far. Now, of course, the researchers didn't do that, but the government was actually trying to get them to do that. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, the administrations of Presidents Reagan, Bush, and Clinton all escalated the war on certain American citizens using non-pharmaceutical, non-alcoholic, tobacco-free drugs. And we've wasted 30 years of research that we could have been doing to try to help save lives and extend lives and help people that are suffering from the pain of cancer. It always, you can tell it makes me very angry when I think about this, that our government, in the effort to try to police black and brown people and to go against the long-haired young people of the 60s, in their efforts to try to demonize marijuana, it was so important for them to come down hard on cannabis that they were willing to sacrifice the research we could have done to help save people's lives through cannabis that have cancer. It's just offensive to me every time I hear it. Just remember, we've known marijuana has had anti-cancer properties for a long time now. Keep the pressure on, folks. Write to your legislators, write to your elected officials, write to the president, and let them know you want the government to fund more research into the use of cannabis in all medical situations, including and especially cancer. I'm Radical Russ, signing off here, and Cannabis Carrie, how about you? Ready to go home?
Yeah, I'm ready to get out of this uncomfortable chair.
Yeah. Love working from home. Isn't it wonderful? Join us at Normal Show Live after the show, coming up at 347-994-1810. We'll hang out as long as there's people to talk to, and we'll talk to each other for a while. I'm Radical Russ, and until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
You plant it, you grow it, you try it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you try it, you roll it, you smoke it. And it comes down smooth.
We love the herb.
This is Normal Show Live, the voice of the Marijuana Nation.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you try it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you try it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you try it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth.
All right, now you're now hearing the theme to our new Normal Show Live after the show. It just made perfect sense. Just go get the old Normal Daily Audio Stash podcast theme and go with that.
Oh, that is nice. I missed that a bit.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah, everybody loved that song. I got a lot of emails from it. It's called Some Sunshine. The artist is called Beats by Miss Marjorie. I don't know if it's a description but that's Miss Marjorie. And that's our new theme song to Normal Show Live after the show. So, I tried.
I was going to say, I just lost our switchboard. I was going to see if we could get Pookie in here, but my switchboard just went down.
Oh, well.
So you might not be recording after the show.
Oh, well, Yeah, it says no callers waiting for host to call in. The show is on, but not streaming. Well, maybe we're on. Wait a minute. Where's my Skype? Skype says we're on.
Okay, excellent. Well, we'll just keep on talking just in case.
I tried to get a hold of Steve Bloom. I think he was trying to call me because he didn't know what the number was. So I'm going to send him a text here, let him know. Gosh, yeah, I wanted to have that Sludstone thing, but yeah, I'm thrilled about Cannabis Cup out here on the West Coast. That should be
I missed that because I was chatting. Where are they planning on holding that in? California?
Yeah, he doesn't have any details yet. I don't even know if it's California yet. I'm assuming it will be. Yeah, Dave's talking about how he's moving out to the West Coast. He's going to become High Times West Coast editor, so he can live out in the West Coast. And they are in the works of planning a West Coast Medical Cannabis Cup.
Nice.
Oh, Pookie says she can still hear us.
Oh, excellent.
Hi, Pookie.
I love it, Pookie. Hi, Pookie. I wish we could get her on, but I can't pull her up in the switchboard anymore.
Yeah. Switchboard's dead. We can't get to you, but we can talk. So
and we can do it next week. Well, I hope Pookie will stay online. She likes to listen on her phone, which I think is an excellent way to hear the radio show that we do. Yeah. And maybe next week after the show we can get her on and chat with her a little bit. She's sort of shy about speaking during the show out loud to all the Stashers.
Oh, I understand, man. A lot of people are shy about getting in front of a microphone. Also, if you're listening to the show on the telephone and you're in your car, make sure you're listening on a hands-free device. Get yourself a Bluetooth or something. We just passed a law. Oregon, it's a ticket now here in Oregon if you're caught with your cell phone up against your face or in your hands, which is I've got the Bluetooth, but sometimes you get a call, you get that Bluetooth, and you don't know who's calling. You want to grab your phone to see who it is. Yeah, there's a ticket, right? So
right, yeah. I was having problems with that last time I came to Portland. I was trying to do everything hands-free, but all the settings on my phone to do it speakerphone and stuff require me to really look at my phone to get it going. So that's kind of a silly law. We'll see how that all plays out.
Yeah. First few people get some tickets here. We'll just we'll see how that goes. And more confirmation here. I've got to get more stuff out to the guy in Las Vegas, but Carrie and I have been chatting. For those of you that are still listening, we're talking about that Canapalooza that we're going to in March 21st, 19th through 21st at the Las Vegas Mandalay Bay Hotel. And I've been invited by the promoters to be the MC all 3 days for the speakers feature. And my thought is that we got to do the show live from there from Las Vegas. And of course, I got to take my crew. So
that's right.
Carrie and Terry and Kenny and Josh.
And I freaking love Las Vegas. My sweet boyfriend Terry, not so much, but I think he will have a great time being able to see it through my eyes. I think it's like a wonderful non-chemical drug trip down there. It's such a trip.
Oh, it is. Whenever Carrie steps into a casino, it's like you can see the oxytocin flowing in her brain.
And it's not just the casinos down there. It's all those rides for adults. It's just being in an adult playground. I'm not real comfortable with children, and once you step off the plane and step out of your taxi in Las Vegas, and the street is littered with porn, you're like, yes, I am in an adult Mecca. I am going to have some freaking fun. There is no concerns about, what about the children? I can just let your hair down and have a good time.
Yeah, that's the other thing, too, when you're walking down Las Vegas Boulevard there at the Strip, and you got the guys handing out the porno flyers. The porn and the strip clubs, and, well, we're not in Boise.
Right. And those rides, I really am sort of a roller coaster junkie. So they have some really great rides down there in Las Vegas. And, of course, just people watching. Just such an interesting, eclectic mix of rich people and poor people, and everybody just hoping to get lucky.
Yeah. And well, it's not just the rides, though, Carrie. Come on. Fess up. We used to go to Jackpot all the time.
That's true. But the rides are fun. There's no rides in Jackpot.
Well,
there's a lot of broken hearts, sad stories.
Yeah. There's a ride in Jackpot. It's called Sit Your Ass in Front of the slot machine for 12 hours. That's the ride.
There you go. So that looks like a go. And what about, have you heard any other information about possibly heading down to the U.S. Virgin Islands to meet Linda in person and hang out there?
The last word on that was possibly February. Of course, they've got to raise the funds to get the plane ticket to get me out there. So that's probably what's involved there.
Sure.
But
that's quite a bit of money.
Yeah, this is crazy. I have a February thing in the Virgin Islands, a March thing in Las Vegas, and then I just confirmed the booking for speaking at the University of Washington in Tacoma for 420.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, big contract for that, and just fantastic. I'll be able to buy new equipment. It'll be so much fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to wrap things up here for after the show. He's letting everyone in the chat room know. Does everyone know Russ and Carrie are still chatting? Hi, everybody. All right, we're going to sign out. Normal Show Live after the show. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be gone for the weekend. We got a weekend here. Right. We actually have some time off. And we'll be back at you Monday. On Monday, gosh, who's on the show on Monday? I forget. You'll just have to look it up.
I know. I'm going to do a toker tune from Vic Chestnut, so you can listen to that.
Awesome. Vic Chestnut music.
You're listening to Normal Show Live, the voice of the Marijuana Nation.
Take it easy, everyone. Have a good weekend, and take care of each other, tokers.